All right, let's talk about scaling up your Etsy business. If you're wanting to go take your Etsy shop from 10 listings to 100 or 200 listings, how to do it the right way. I manufacture for other sellers that do that. In fact, a lot of my sellers do that really well, and some of my sellers don't do that really well. And I want to talk about what's the difference. If you are thinking of making your Etsy shop to 1,000 listings, there's a lot of listings you don't need, or you're wasting time or even energy and resources. And you need to pause and you need to restructure how you're going to scale up. And in this video, I want to give you guys the inside scoop on what that's supposed to look like. I work with WeEngrave.com. By the way, if you are interested in selling with them, they are somebody that can manufacture your orders, process your orders, and all you have to do is from your computer sell Etsy native products. So check out the link in the description below. But I work with them pretty closely, and we talk about their sellers, how their sellers are doing and what the best strategies work for their sellers and how my sellers are doing. And so we're always sharing information. It's really cool to see other shops. I've been really focused on helping shops from the beginning, kind of like the first 100 sales, the first 1,000 sales, which I'm going to be, bringing more information to the YouTube as I'm discovering what they're doing and what works and what doesn't. So let's talk about what is the most appropriate strategy when you do want to get to 1,000 listings. Now, we know very simply that good quality listings, and a lot of them, is really the best strategy, right? But we need to understand, what does quality listings look like? We always think about photos, we think about titles, tags, all of that stuff. All that stuff is very straightforward, and people need to pay attention to that. But there are other qualities of a listing that a lot of people are not paying attention to. And if you're not paying attention to this very specific, very important detail that I found, a lot of sellers that do pay attention to it do really well. Sellers that don't tend to not do really well. And I'm going to show you an example towards the end of the video of an Etsy shop that does this really well. And you need to pay attention to Etsy shops like this. And this is why they're winning. This is why they're doing a good job, because they're applying this exact strategy. So there's kind of this kind of hack that a lot of people are doing. They have one listing, but they just change out the thumbnail and they make 3 different listings. If they have 3 variations of, say, that product within that listing, well, they'll just make 3 different listings by just changing out the thumbnail. It's a little hack. So if you have 50 listings, you can technically turn those 50 listings into 150, right? Does that work? Is it a good strategy? Now, the excuse a lot of times people will say is, well, I'm A/B testing, right? One thumbnail could do better than the other, which is to some degree totally a fair game. And I used to do this, I sold dog collars. I have my dog collar store had over 130,000 sales on Etsy. Now, I don't no longer sell on Etsy. I'll make a video about that. What happened to my short store. So make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification, because that video is coming up. I do want to talk about why I'm no longer personally selling on Etsy and I service other shops as a print-on-demand supplier, which I absolutely love that business model. And I think I'm going to continue to scale that up, and I'm going to be opening up opportunity and programs for people that want to jump on board. But if you want to, like I said, jump on board with something similar, check out the link in the description below for WeEngrave.com. They are doing what I'm doing, but more products. And so, or with a bigger catalog. So with the A/B testing, I've done this before. I've created a listing with 3 different thumbnails, same exact listing, and one should do better than the other. In order to do a true A/B test, you would need to have equal amount of traffic delegated to each listing in order to truly have a true A/B test. So if you go on, say, Facebook, and you advertise and you give 1,000 traffic to this listing and 1,000 traffic to this listing or ad, and then you will find out which one does better. In fact, some people recommend that you do 10,000 views or visits, maybe not visits, but maybe views, and then 10,000 views to each advertisement before you really understand which one's doing better, okay? And that's how the right way to do A/B test. And then even with that, you change one element or one aspect of the ad, and then you run that again. With Etsy does not give each listing equal opportunities. It will never do that. And in fact, a lot of people don't know why one listing is chosen over the other if they're pretty close to each other. That is if you're trying to target, say, a certain keyword. Let's just say you're going to be doing dog bandanas. There's something that's close to me because I sold dog bandanas at one point. In fact, that was the product that really gave me the success that I have. I started off with dog bandanas, more specifically with plaid bandanas. We embroidered bandanas, and we had both red and black plaid, and we have black and white plaid and blue and black plaid. And we sold all that in one listings, and we had 3 different listings. And sure enough, one of them did really well. And it was the buffalo plaid, the red and black buffalo plaid, which was a traditional. The argument you could say, well, if you ran all 3 of those and you didn't know which one is going to do well, then there you go. Etsy has shown you that that one does better. But the reality is that one actually was the first listing that we posted. And the first listing that we posted did really well. And then we created variations of that didn't do really well. But next year, when we sold the same product, our black and white did really well. So the argument could have been made that, hey, see, the algorithm decided which one is better, but next year it had a sufficient enough time, the red and black, or the white and black did really well. But the third year, that's why I no longer sell bandanas, because none of them did anything. So the argument that A/B testing is something that we need to do by duplicating one listing on 3 different thumbnails is not really strong, because Etsy does not give equal traffic, and sometimes it will be biased to one listing versus the other. So the best strategy has been, if you are going to sell buffalo plaid, create one really good listing that represents what's in the listing, represents what's in, it's going to be the variation. So the thumbnail needs to be pretty clear, like a dog with a buffalo plaid, and maybe 3 squares on the bottom showing you that there's different types of plaid. So instead of creating 3 variations, this is what I found. I've seen that with my sellers. I've seen that with my shop towards the tail end of my Etsy shop existence, that when you create just one really good listing and then you advertise just one listing, that listing tends to go further than creating 3 listings and advertising all 3. Now, we can get into the science of how money is distributed on the ads, but I found that the best strategy is just one really good listing if you're targeting buffalo plaid dog bandanas. And so when you run your ads that way, you're more profitable, you're more successful, because the listing is so good that the higher conversion rate happens. If your conversion rate are not good for that listing, or you're losing money, maybe change the thumbnail. Don't change anything else, by the way. Side note, do not change anything about listings, because it will de-index you, but you can't change the thumbnail. You can play it that way, right? Because the listing already has some, traction or traffic. See if you can change out the thumbnail. That doesn't hurt your ranking. But other than just creating 3 different types of listings, it doesn't really benefit you if you are trying to create kind of an A/B test style on Etsy. Because again, Etsy's going to be biased to one listing versus the other. And when I'll jump on the computer, I'll show you this on the algorithm, that Etsy is just going to choose one. No matter which keyword you're going to try to rank for, there's always just going to be one listing that will be chosen that will be ranked for most of the time. When you type in dog bandana, you will find that there's not a single Etsy shop that will appear twice, or at least 3 times. It used to be where one seller would appear all over the research results, but Etsy has been cleaning up their search results. So it's been really, really active with not letting you rank more than 1 per keyword. Anyway, so creating one really good listing when you're targeting that keyword is going to be your best bet. So, but what about the 100 listings? What about the 200 listings? Well, what you need to do is create a list of keywords you want to target. Because objectively, essentially, what you want to do is you want to target keywords. You want to target search results or searches that customers are doing, because you're essentially targeting different types of customer. For example, if I'm selling a camouflage dog bandana, well, if you do a green camo bandana versus a pink camo bandana, well, you're targeting 2 separate customers, right? Because one could be for a male dog and one could be for a female dog. Sure, occasionally they can cross over, but essentially you're doing 2 different customers. Even though it's the same design, but you're targeting different keywords, right? Different searches, different types of customers. You can use the same design or similar design, but you can be targeting different customers. And in that case, splitting a listing into 2, if say you are within a listing doing a green camo and a pink camo, well, you can split those because you're targeting 2 separate customers. But if you're doing a green camo and a blue camo to split that listing, it doesn't really make sense, because you're essentially fighting for the same spot. Let me go further. Things like holiday seasons, right? If you're going for fall and then you're going for a Christmas, that is a significant enough distinction between a listing that will be a good idea, because it's going to rank on different parts of Etsy. And that's essentially what you want to do. You want to rank on many parts and sections of Etsy that our customers are searching for that specific, maybe for that kind of dog or for that kind of event. This is where you want to make the distinction. So let me jump on the computer. I want to show you the kind of Etsy shop I was talking about, and they're doing this extremely well. And I think you should pay attention to somebody like that. All right. So here's one of the examples. when you look at these greeting cards, and I like using greeting cards as an example for this kind of concept, because there's so much to target, because essentially you're either greed cards for different kind of people and different kind of events. And when you match those up, you essentially have so much different variation. And this is what I call the keyword library. There's so much keyword libraries. For example, let's say you're doing birthday greeting cards. Well, within the birthday greeting cards, there's going to be birthday, uncle's birthday, could be aunt's birthday, could be niece's birthday, and then you go from uncle to niece, from uncle to nephew. There's so many keywords, and you could target so many different people or occasions that it allows you to really spread yourself throughout the whole internet. So for example, let's just go on birthday. This is one of the biggest one. But what they did, and this actually shows a really good example. Instead of doing 20 different, auntie or auntie birthday or stepmoms, they decided to use one design for different keywords, right? So they're spreading themselves on different parts of Etsy. Yes, you could use the same design, that's fine, but you're spreading to different parts of Etsy. That's kind of the idea. Instead of doing, and here's the key point, instead of doing one listings from the other as a preference difference, you need to actually have a sufficient enough keyword difference that will be helping one listing rank on a separate keyword versus the other ranking on the other keyword. Because if they're going to be competing for one keyword, Etsy is just going to choose one. And like we said before, we really don't know why one is chosen compared to the other. So you just need to create one really good one to rank for that keyword, and don't make too much to try to compete for that same keyword, because it's going to be useless. So when you are making variations, do not make a preference variation, make an actual keyword or a customer or even an occasion difference variation, right? In this case, it's the actual person who is going to be bought for, right? It could be bought by an aunt, it could be bought by an uncle, by a niece, by a nephew, right? But you can use the same design. So if you have 500 listings, if you are just creating the design where you're just doing variations, you could be essentially only ranking for 50 listings, because all the other listings are just repeating of the same listings. So you could have just got away with 50. But in this case, they're actually separating themselves so much that they are actually ranking for 500 different keywords or for 500 different people or occasions. And so this is why it's really important that you don't just create, 3 types of listings for the same exact keyword, because Etsy's going to only choose one. And so this is where a lot of my sellers that do this really well, and they separate themselves and rank on separate occasions or separate people or specific keywords, and they're ranking for those keywords, and they're not competing for just one keyword, dog bandana or dog collar. This is how you win when you're starting to scale up. So when you're creating a new Etsy shop and you have maybe your first 10 or 20 listings, really try to hone in on, because you have kind of the luxury. You don't have that many listings. Really start to only post listings that will be pretty distinct from one listing to another. Now, as you're getting to the 500 listing or the 100 listings, that's going to be much more difficult, because you feel like you're targeting every single keyword. In that case, see if you can improve the listings that you have, maybe offer more things to really have a better chance to rank more keywords. And when you start to advertise, if you're going to advertise more and more listings, this kind of strategy becomes more and more important, because you're going to be very efficient with your ad spend. But if you're advertising, say 10 different listings, but they're all trying to rank for one keyword, no wonder you're not going to be ranking, or you're spending your advertisement or really having any luck with advertisement. It's really about ranking on different keywords and not having your own listings compete for one spot, because Etsy will only give you one spot, and you're ranking against your listings if you're creating too many of one type of keyword, one type of list. So hopefully this video was useful. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification. Check out this video if you want to know more about how to sell on Etsy the right way.